This is a HeadGum podcast.
Welcome to another new episode of All Fantasy Everything, the podcast that fantasy drafts the entire world. I am your host, Ian Karmel, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we are drafting something very near and dear to my heart. We are drafting 90s hip-hop albums. This is actually the first podcast we recorded, and then we put it in the cooler for a minute, and now we're releasing it to you here. So there will be references to it being the first one. It's not the first one. This is just me fucking with you. If you drop LSD and listen to me say it's the first one, it'll totally open up your mind. It's going to be amazing for you. Today we did 90s hip hop. Hip hop, of course, started in the late 70s in the South Bronx, you know, with DJs and MCs rapping over breakbeats. It grew throughout the 80s. By the 90s, it was a full force, you know, cultural mainstream thing. On the West Coast, you had groups like NWA. On the East Coast, you had Biggie and Nas. The South started to represent, you know, with the Outkast coming out of Atlanta, UGK coming out of Houston. Lorne Michaels said about Saturday Night Live that your favorite cast is whatever cast, you know, was there when you were in high school. And that's probably a little bit true of hip-hop, too. I wasn't in high school in the 90s, but that's when I really started to get into it. So I think of it as the golden age of hip-hop. Here to draft 90s hip-hop albums with me, I am joined by the comedian Matt Braunger, very funny man, huge rap fan. Was actually in a rap group himself in college, although it's tough to get him to admit to it on a podcast. And joining me and Matt is Jeff Weiss, who is a music writer. He's written for LA Weekly, Playboy, Rolling Stone, so many different places to find his reading. He's such a well thought out intellectual about hip hop, but not in the annoying way where it takes all the fun out of it. He's someone who genuinely loves rap music and is amazing at writing and talking about it. So for me, it was just a joy to have him in the studio. It was always a joy to have Braunger anywhere near me. And I think you're going to enjoy it too. Here we are drafting 90s hip hop albums. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of All Fantasy Everything. I am your host, Ian Karmel, as you know, and today we are drafting hip-hop albums from the 1990s. We're doing a fantasy draft only on hip-hop albums, only from the 1990s. I have two esteemed guests here with me today. I'm going to introduce them right now. First, and drafting first, is Matt Braunger.
Hello.
Matt is a stand-up comedian, originally from the Rose City of Portland, Oregon.
Yes, sir.
And then moved to New York City.
Then Chicago.
And then Chicago.
Now Los Angeles.
And then graces us here in Los Angeles. Matt, while we have people listening, where can people find you on the internet and go see you perform stand-up?
Oh, you can go to mattbraunger.com. That's mattbraunger.com for all my dates. And follow me at Braunger on Twitter. And if you want to see some of my stuff, I'm on my Netflix special, Big Dumb Animal.
Perfect. Fantastic. Yep. Check it out on Netflix. To my right, we have Jeff Weiss, writer. I'm not going to let
I don't know what I am either.
What are you?
I'm not esteemed. I took great umbrage with your introduction.
I left out esteemed on purpose.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to build tension.
Not esteemed. I feel
trying to build tension for the draft.
Yeah, I feel when it's like you in your room with a cat all day long, it's not really, you can't be esteemed. You know, and when your cat is named after a literary figure, it's even less esteemed.
What is your cat's name?
F. Scott Fitzgerald the cat. Which is great. It's only actually funny. It's insufferable if I don't include but I make sure that I include the cat. So, like, you go into the vet, and they're like, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm like, you're forgetting something.
Yeah.
And they're like,
that's not my cat's
F. Scott
name.
Fitzgerald, the cat.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, primarily, you're a esteemed cat namer.
I'm a cat namer.
And then you're also
whisperer.
You're a writer. You write a lot about hip-hop, but you write about a ton of things.
Yeah, I try to not be like the old, it's like, I think if you're writing about hip-hop at a certain point, you become the proverbial old guy in the club. So I'm trying to write more about, politics sometimes, sports sometimes.
Where can people find the stuff you write, and do you have anything coming out soon you're excited about you want to send people to?
On twitter.com, I'm at Passion Weiss. I have a website called Passion of the Weiss, which I edit because I like losing money. Which is the most non-Jewish thing I've ever said.
Yeah. Just to be clear, you're Jewish. Okay, thank you.
It'd be amazing if
like,
you weren't
like for,
just saying
I
that.
know.
Like, whoa, all right, man.
You're like, whoa, anti-Semitism.
I don't know.
Early.
Oh, I didn't see that coming at all.
We won't be picking any Beastie Boys
That
albums.
was that was my setup actually for. I have an article that it'll be out in the next Playboy. And online, which is actually, I went to the Israeli Burning Man. I was telling you about that earlier.
Yeah, there's a Burning
That's
Man
a thing?
in Israel.
Well, it was such a good joke that I was like, all right, that's like, 'cause I was in Israel, I got a free trip to, because like, I don't know, like they'll give you free trips to Israel. It wasn't even birthright, but you could just kind of get free trips.
That's true.
So I was on a previous trip to Israel, and some guy's like, I run the Israeli Burning Man. I was like, yeah, that's a story.
You were telling me, tell Matt, but the date that you ate?
So it's like day 3 of the Israeli Burning Man. I'm like just ragged. And I'm just like, if I have to hear any more psychedelic trance music, somebody's got to die. But everyone has guns except me, so it's going to be me.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, go to this guy, and like they have this expression, like, the playa provides. And I'm like, fuck your playa providing. It doesn't provide shit. I can't even get weed here. I'm going to kill somebody.
That doesn't count as a Burning Man
if you can't get drugs, weed.
Yeah, like I was like, please, anything. Like I was like, nothing I can inject. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on here. So he goes, he pulls me aside. He's like, psst. I was like, I walk over this guy, and he's like, here, this is a psychedelic date. I was like, well, it's the most Israeli thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I take it with some hummus? Like, what do I like? How do I do this?
Yeah. You have to take it in a burgeoning settlement. That's
No, shit got really crazy. And then I took it, and
immense guilt.
Then watched
so much overwhelming psychedelic guilt.
Totally. Yeah.
Psychedelic guilt.
Yeah. It was like, honestly, like the Holocaust appeared before my eyes. It was glorious. And but I did watch Noah's Ark burn down, which was like, and honestly, like I felt like I was like this weird bad Holy Land amusement park, and then I go into there's like, I'm tripping out now. I'm like, I don't feel good. I think I'm wander into a place called the Afterlife, which I'm like, this is a chill out kind of Burning Man thing. And
I thought we didn't believe in the afterlife.
Yeah, it was a lesbian S&M show.
Okay, fantastic.
With a man dressed as the devil, and I'm just like, and then like they're playing like all of a sudden Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive comes on. I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna murder me to a Richie Sambora guitar solo.
Israeli Burning Man sounds way better than American Burning Man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about it.
It seems completely unpretentious.
Completely,
I found this CD in the corner. I don't know what it's on. I'm just gonna throw it on.
Yeah, you look.
Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so they can find that's coming out soon on Playboy. In Playboy.
It'll be on Playboy's website.
All right.
And in print. Yeah. So.
Fantastic. Since we're talking about 90s hip hop today, I want to do maybe a little update. Is there any what hip hop are you guys listening to right now? What's the music you're listening to right now that you like? Just a quick recommendation for our listeners. Matt, you want to go first?
We were just talking about Chance, which I feel like he's just ever present and all around. He's great. But you brought up a great point about like it's just almost too happy and too positive.
Yeah,
it's a little. It kind of gets there a little bit. Yeah, and I would agree with that. I'm trying to think of something that modern I listen to. I make fun of guys my age that pretend they like Future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love Future.
And it's like I like some of it, but I like when I'm 42. When I meet like a guy that's my age, it's just like, I'm really into. I'm like,
yeah.
Are you though?
Are you? Or
it's
you
like I
you're
can't
supposed
like
to
it
be.
as much as someone who's 22. I just can't.
Yeah.
But I do like I appreciate it. Like I like. It's kind of almost like listening to Stan Getz. Like I like different rhythmic structures. You know what I mean? Like that. I was like, wow, they came up with an entirely new rapping style, rapping pattern. Even even the melody and the beat pattern and the numbers are just completely like different.
He completely fucked it up. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you come up just on promethazine and Atlanta strip clubs.
Yeah. That's how I feel about Young Thug. Like, he just like he also has this weird thing in my brain. It's like the tears part of my brain. Like I'll be out and I'll be like, man, I don't know why he makes me want to cry.
Yeah,
like I'm so happy I want to cry. And I'm like if you told my 21-year-old self, you will be liking a man named Young Thug.
Right. Well, that doesn't sound like a thug at all.
No.
He almost raps in
Jeffrey. It makes me so happy. He's redeemed Jeffries.
He raps in this pitch that is like hearing your own baby cry, where you're like drawn to it. It's like, oh, I have to care for it. I have to care for Young Thug.
Wait, it's not. It's just it's the first robot baby.
Yeah.
Like it's not a baby. It's a robot baby.
Young Thug is hip hop's robot baby.
Robot baby. That they just put a mic in front of and he made $1 billion. Yeah.
That's as good of a point as any to jump in. Really quick, Schoolboy Q's album, Blank Face.
Yeah,
I can't stop listening to it.
That's amazing.
Definitely fuck with
I
that.
was more of a YG fan of the two.
You took YG over Schoolboy Q?
Yeah. YG, I growing up in LA, like I feel like I hear that like that synth line.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm like Pavlov's dog. I'm like
it gets you going immediately.
Oh, yeah, I'm like all of a sudden I'm doing dances I don't know how to do.
Yeah,
both.
I'm like, why am I doing this? I would like. No,
I feel like I'm cheating because like a lot of the stuff that I like it sounds like the stuff I grew up on, like Joey Badass.
Yeah,
and that whole crew is like well, you're basically doing. Yeah, I wouldn't even call it old school New York, but just New York.
Yeah,
kind of
real
stuff.
New York hip hop,
so
unmitigated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's get into it.
Okay.
And then I think some music here, or maybe something like that.
Or
just leave this
just
part.
Don't even edit that out.
Just leave. Yeah, I'll beatbox. You guys freestyle over it. All right, so then and I'll just introduce you as the first pick.
Okay.
All right, with the first pick ever on All Fantasy Everything for drafting 90s hip-hop albums, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Braunger.
Well, I had to go with the combination Satchel Paige and Babe Ruth of, to me, 90s rap albums, Illmatic by Nas.
Illmatic.
To me, when that came out, I was in college, and I just remember, it was as if, to use like a basketball analogy, it was as if Jordan in like 1992 started as a rookie, but was that good.
Right.
And was dunking on everybody and was making every shot. Like this, like Nas was... You'd only heard him on Live at the Barbecue in the Main Source song, and he said he's known for just saying the craziest shit. Like he originally the cover for Illmatic, he was going to have Jesus in a headlock. That's what he wanted to have,
like a full-grown Nas with Jesus Christ in a head.
Like no real metaphor there. Just like I hate everything.
Yeah,
and he was but he also he had like a swagger, and he had he's who's who of producers on that album. There isn't a dud in the bunch.
Yeah,
like it is. The rare, not just hip hop, but any album you can listen to beginning to end and not have to skip a song. Like it's just incredible.
It's widely regarded not only as like one of the best albums of the 90s, but just like one of the best hip hop albums.
Yeah, I think it's top 10 best rap album of all time. Like one of them, you know. And it's
I mean, like with Nas, like I didn't listen to Nas until like I was like probably 21, 22. It just never crossed my plate until that point.
Sure.
So at that point, I've listened to everyone who Nas influenced, like Jay-Z, of course, and like everyone else who... But he was almost like kind of a dividing line, it seemed like, between like the hip-hop of the 80s.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he was like that first MC who spits the way.
He's almost like the last of that generation in a way. Like, he's like, the Big Daddy Kane, the Rakims. Like, he was
the Juice Crew.
He was the anointed one, yeah. And then all of a sudden, he comes out. Like, I got into Nas actually via, it was written the second album.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting because I feel like the first album is a greater album, more brilliant. If I had to listen to one right now, I would pick the second one. It was written just because it felt more modern to me, and I don't know. I was just like that was him going into the new style. I think like that mid '90s kind of like anticipating the Jiggy era. There's an interesting Questlove story where he's talked about like I think it was the '95 Source Awards, where Nas loses. To everybody basically from like the West, and then like you could just see him getting like crestfallen, and all of a sudden like he loses the true school mentality and becomes like the Nas Escobar.
Right. He starts to make music for the radio.
Yeah, wearing like silk shirts. And
yeah.
stuff.
Well,
and I like that. Like
I like that too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm also a fan of that stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, it took I think it took Illmatic like 2 years to go gold. Like it didn't catch on at first. They were like almost the Velvet Underground, where it was like. Not everybody listened to it, but it was your favorite rapper's favorite rapper kind of thing.
But it also was like one of those albums that everybody had their favorite song on it. Like, and it was always a different song. That like I don't really like notice or know of many albums where everybody has like a different favorite.
What is your favorite song off Illmatic?
See, I gotta be. I always loved Represent.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah. That the chorus is nothing. There's no chorus. But just everything he says on it is just ill and bananas.
And that beat is amazing.
Bananas.
And he rides the beat so well. Mm-hmm. That's how Represent was on the soundtrack to a video, the NBA 2K16 that I played incessantly. I played it for thousands of hours, literally. Yeah. And I never got tired of that song. Every time it came on, I was like, oh, here it is.
Yeah. I remember I had a friend who was deeply stoned and just kept texting me Nas lyrics from that album.
Yeah.
Just like, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death.
Yeah.
Yo. I'm like, yeah, I've heard it. I've heard the album. No, I need a new... nigga, for this black cloud to follow, because while it's over me, it's too dark to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I know.
I'm familiar with the album.
Yeah.
And now he's the editor of Rap Genius.
Yeah. His name. Yeah.
Yeah. He had you explain all of those lyrics, and then that turned into the first entry on Rap
He just didn't, that's why he texted. He just didn't get it.
That guy owes you $40 million.
Yeah.
All right, so with the first pick of 90s hip-hop albums, Matt Braunger goes with Nas, Illmatic. Classic pick. Jeff, do you want coming up second?
I'll go with it. See, this is the pick that I would just go for personally. Otherwise, if it was a real fantasy draft, you could probably get this in the later round.
It's a real fantasy draft.
It's a real.
Can I say though? I mean, I think we're all picking like our favorite.
Our favorite.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yes. Good.
There's no criteria. Pick
this
however
album
you want.
sold more than any.
Yeah.
Everyone here should be picking Hammer.
It's Mace's Harlem World, which I thought about including because I love.
Would
that
you
album.
make fun of someone for picking that?
The best interview question.
Mace.
The best interview question ever is like, if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? And you're like, but it's great. You're always gonna do an answer. No, I'm gonna go with Outkast,
AT-Aliens.
which a lot of people would go with. A lot of people would go with Aquemini.
Yeah.
Again, Aquemini probably the greater record because that is just like Curtis Mayfield, like Sly, like in rap form, and it's just in Parliament. AT-Aliens to me is, I guess I kind of like, I'm partial to kind of like the futurism thing, but there's like a sadness and like a melancholy to it too.
Yeah.
Maybe isn't necessarily in Outkast. You know, like you have Big Boy's aunt had just died. Andre is obviously I think he like gets sober, starts wearing like the turban, meets Erykah Badu, is like just at the peak of Baduism in the best way. And I don't know, like I feel like the moment it starts off with, two dope boys and like, I'll just never forget being like 14, 15 years old, hearing that for the first time, and just you felt like transported into a different world. And I never really, because it's easy to think about it now, but this is like before Kool Keith, this is before Dell, this is before all that stuff. I mean, there probably were, I'm probably forgetting some at the time, but I don't know. Did you ever watch the video for Elevators, like Me and You?
Yeah.
Like, where he's like, it's like the little boy, and he's like reading a comic book, and then all of a sudden it just opens up into a crazy world, and they're like in the jungle, and it's that to me, like I felt like I was that little kid, and I guess it was like to me the most imaginative record I'd ever heard at that time. And organized noise, like
forget it.
Oh my god!
Has there ever been a better hip hop production team?
And like no samples,
like
more
samples,
more
never.
thematic. Yeah, so incredibly creative.
Yeah, and just think about it. I mean, okay, Manny Fresh comes. I mean, Manny Fresh was doing like kind of the early kind of bounce mixer stuff, but like. You have Dre previously to that point. Dre is basically, brilliant, but doing loops. Riz is doing loops.
Yeah.
Organized Noise are creating stuff out of, like, from scratch.
Yeah.
They're like they're amazing. There's a great documentary. Well, not great, but there's a pretty good documentary about Organized Noise.
Yeah,
you can find it on. I forget the name of it. You can find it on Netflix.
I think it's the art of something.
It might be the art of
noise.
The art of noise. Yeah.
Well, when like Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music came out, I remember hearing that album and being like, the production value on this is bananas, and like all of the, and I was like, I thought of just like, what amazing samples. Nope, it's all played.
Yeah.
And they were still kind of like, since they're from the South and of the South, they were kind of stuck in that, big Cadillac, playalistic stuff. And then Atlians, they just went hard left weird. And in a really cool way, like they really made themselves.
Yeah. Is it Atlians? Is it AT-Aliens? Or has anyone ever spoken on it?
I always said Atlians.
When I was a kid, I did, but then I think I realized like it's AT-Aliens.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, AT-Aliens. Of course.
I had no idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's Atlians is a fun thing to say though too. It really rolls out. You could name your child Atlians.
And it's like we were talking earlier, kind of about like Chance, and I feel like they have like nothing against Chance. He's obviously like has a ton of talent, and like, he's made great. I loved acid rap. But what a song like Decatur Psalm to me or something, where it's like they get like this weird, they get like that Red Clay like biblical like Southern kind of vengeance. It's almost like feels like William Faulkner in outer space. It's like weird and angry, it's like vengeful God, and like kind of
things are really dark.
Yeah, it's
like
dark.
We're doing the best we can, but good Lord, things are not going to work out.
I mean, and like honestly, it could have been the Witch Doctor album, which I think is like a kind of antecedent to Future. I love that Witch Doctor album. I mean, Goody Mob Soul Food's incredible.
Yeah.
I'll ride for Slim Cutta Calhoun.
I love Slim Cutta Calhoun.
Yeah. It's always okay.
It's all right, girl. All these lonely girls want to cut. This podcast now turns into just me singing Slim Cutta Calhoun songs for the next half hour.
And me saying, should I not get my Who Want to Fuck with Hollywood Cole tattoo on my arm?
I think you definitely should.
Well, that was an interesting thing because I read like recently, maybe a year or two ago, that it was like, who else want to fuck with Hollywood Court? And that's always thought it was Hollywood Cole.
Yeah.
And
I
J.
did
Cole,
too.
It still hasn't been effectively determined because it might be a Rap Genius interpretation and blending. Hopefully not. But I heard Hollywood Court was a neighborhood, and he was basically saying who else want to because he was from Hollywood
his neighborhood.
Court.
All right. Okay.
So we've all been saying
it might be Hollywood Cole. I always thought it was Hollywood Cole.
Doesn't Drake reference it, or who is
J. Cole?
J. Cole. J. Cole. Yeah. Now who else want to fuck with Hollywood Cole? So he thinks he's Hollywood Cole. J. Cole is a complete fabrication based on a misheard lyric.
And I would say that's a pretty accurate assessment of J. Cole. So I'm going to say it's Hollywood Court just so J. Cole can't have
exactly.
it.
We'll start calling him J.
Court.
Court.
Don't get the tattoo. Just don't.
I would get it. I think everyone's heard it that way.
Get two, one on each arm.
Yeah.
All right, so with the second pick of 90s hip-hop albums, Jeff Weiss goes with Outkast.
Real good one.
ATLians, a.k.a. Atlians. Pronounce it however you want. All right, now I'm gonna be coming in with a third pick. And with the third pick of the 90s hip-hop albums, I think I have to go with Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die.
Yeah.
1994. Because I can't not have...
Same year as Illmatic.
Same year as... What an amazing... We could talk about 94 just as a rap year.
Yeah, for sure.
In general, it's insane. I could not have the album The Juicy is on. That just on a... I love that song, and it's my personal... Anytime anything goes well in my life, I listen to Juicy. I actually save it. So I like... If it's just a Wednesday... And I had a shitty drive home from work. I can't listen to Juicy. It's only
Well,
when I get good news.
I feel like anybody successful in life usually hated school or had bad problems in school.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's that where he talks about teachers. You know what I mean? Just telling him how he dedicates it to all the teachers that never told him it was going to be nothing.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing because I don't know. I definitely had a lot of teachers that told me I sucked.
I do think he goes a little hard on the teachers at the beginning of that. They were probably just saying it's probably not likely that you're going to be a famous rapper. Chris, maybe you should learn some computer science skills.
Well, it's funny you guys took issue with that because when I took issue with when people calling the cops, I was just trying to sell drugs to feed my daughter. You could have worked somewhere else.
His mom, he had a good the Brownstones sold for $1.5 million.
I
It's
know.
$2 million.
Well, and his mom was actually an educator.
She was an educator.
Yeah, and so he's that's one reason he's such a good rapper, and he was so smart.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you think about Kanye's mom was an English professor.
Right,
it's a pretty common thread, I think, with a guy. Even Tupac's mom, they grew up super poor, but she was really highly educated.
Yeah.
Brilliant woman.
Yeah.
R.I.P., right? She just recently, Afeni Shakur.
Yeah.
But so, Ready to Die.
Life After Death. If I had to go with one, I would go with Life
Your
After
Life
Death.
After Death.
I would go Ready to Die.
I love Ready to Die. I love
but Life After Death is incredible.
Oh my God! Give me 1 second. We can edit this part out of the podcast. I got to just pull up the track list really quick.
Yeah, I feel it's honestly it's a flip of a coin, honestly. But I feel Life After Death to me is so amazing because it was just the most virtuosic display of he could do anything.
Yeah.
It was just okay, I can post up, I can shoot, I can rap like Bone Thugs, I can do an LA track, I can diss Puffy over a RZA beat, diss Tupac.
Yeah.
But you're I don't know. Did you ever hear that?
But he was still the one had a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
Off of another album which I won't mention because someone's gonna say it. I know, but he duetted and was just if Faith has twins, I have two Pacs.
Yeah.
Two Pacs. And he's just saying it's just ha who gives a none of this crap matters.
Although I think Faith Evans did sleep with Tupac. I got confirmation.
I would have slept with. You got confirmation on it
from Tupac's mentor and ex.
Yeah.
I was at my book reading, which was it was lost to the ages.
Okay.
Sources say breaking now on the All Fantasy Everything. Tupac definitely hit it.
Yeah, you just got
with Faith Evans.
You just got a million listens.
Yeah.
Just now.
That's amazing. I mean that breaks my heart because I love
even if it was true or not true, it's kind of I feel Biggie could just shrug off literally anything.
Well, how great was the Anthony Mason revelation?
Oh my God!
Can we talk about that for a moment?
Yes,
I'm still.
I mean, that's on this album. That's yeah.
Props to Hubert Davis for not being the one who thought it was.
Yeah, and Anthony Mason was
scary.
Has there ever been a scarier person to NBA? That guy was a terrifying.
Only
man.
Charles Oakley. Only Charles Oakley has been scarier. Yeah. That, for those of you who don't know,
maybe Lambeer, because you think he might have a tire iron.
Lambeer might be great. Lambeer's white, so he'd kill you and get away with it. That's the scariest thing about it.
I'm throwing him out. Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, if you're Biggie has a song about where he mentioned sleeping with.
I got a story to tell.
I got a story to tell. Where he mentioned sleeping with a New York Knicks girlfriend.
Right.
And it was apocryphal for a long time. Nobody knew if it was true.
Wow.
And then recently it came out.
Fat Joe of all people.
Fat Joe revealed it was Anthony Mason's girlfriend.
God.
So Anthony Mason took an L almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
From the now deceased, from the ghost of Biggie Smalls, the Coogee sweater wearing ghost of the Notorious B.I.G. But I mean, just the track, it's an amazing album. I mean, if you're listening to this, you've probably listened to it, but just like, Give Me the Loot, Into Machine Gun Funk.
Give Me the Loot is one of my favorite rap songs of all time.
Suicidal Thoughts is amazing.
Suicidal Thoughts is insane.
The What?
The What?
The What? There might not ever be better rapping on a song than The What.
Yeah.
Like, that might be the best any two people have ever rapped. Though, I mean, those two, I mean, if you think about 94, like, everyone says Biggie. Biggie, I think Method Man was truly the king of 94.
Yeah.
In terms of rapping on a bar-to-bar basis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even on Life After Death, that guy on the Mad Rapper, my shit is way more John Blaze than that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was Johnny Blaze was Method Man. That was like, I remember that was the funniest expression.
Yeah.
It's just way more John Blaze.
I'm way more John Blaze.
Blaze magazine. Like, they had an entire hip-hop magazine about it.
I'm way more Matt Braunger. That's just like using someone's name.
Someone else's name.
I'm way more Matt Braunger than Ron Funches. Yeah. Talking shit.
Way more Funches than that. That shit was way more Funch.
All right, so that concludes the first round. Off the board, we have Nas, It Was Written. The second pick, Outkast, ATLiens, and Biggie's Ready to Die. The way this works is, since I picked third, I will also be picking fourth, and then it goes to Jeff, and then back to Matt. Okay. And with the fourth pick, I made the Earth Sick. I'm taking Outkast, Aquemini. I'm taking the other Outkast album. This was the album that got me into hip-hop for real. I was at Meadow Park Middle School in Beaverton, Oregon. I had a Master P double CD.
Oh, the Last Dawn.
Yeah, the MP The Last Dawn. I listened to it all the time. And then somebody on the bus, this guy named Jesse, I don't remember his last name, he was like, hey, I'll trade you. Because I'd killed I'd listened to every song of The Last Dawn a million times. Yeah. And he had Aquemini. He was like, I'll trade you this. I was like, all right, I'm only getting one CD for two. And then I put Aquemini in my Discman. And when Rosa Parks came on, it was like a life-changing moment. I listened to it the entire bus ride home over and over and over again. It remains one of my 5 favorite songs of all time. I know it's kind of like a hacky song to like from that album, but it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Even on Rosa Parks at the end of it, the way they switch up the oh yeah, or hell yeah, they do it in so it's never the same.
Boom chaka like a
yeah, and they do it 16 different times and it's never the same. Yeah. It's fucking mathematically beautiful. Spotty Dopalicious is on that song.
You got Mamacita.
Yeah.
Let's have a moment about Mamacita because I feel this doesn't get talked about enough. Where it's in the middle of there's no reason why Mamacita. I kind of came to love Mamacita, but Andre is just randomly screaming at about some woman making a lesbian pass at another woman for no reason. It's really weird. It's how this is what you should do. If you're why are you giving he makes an instruction manual of what to do if your friend hits on you in the middle of Mamacita. Total non sequitur. Doesn't make any sense.
It was Andre's version of the 10 Crack Commandments. It just had to do with homosexuality in the 90s. He was even Andre 3000 kind of weird about
not woke.
Not woke. Not woke. And not woe. Yeah. Shout out to Black Rob. And then, Rosa Parks right into Skew It on the Barbie.
That's amazing.
Which is an amazing song.
We talked about Spotty.
Yeah.
And that song is just, that's basically the Isaac Hayes, hyper dopa, I can't pronounce it, but.
It's amazing. Andre 3000 getting weird as hell. Maybe the height of his weirdness. I don't know. This was the.
Are both those the second Art of Storytelling as a song? It definitely is the precursor to a Bombs Over Baghdad.
Yeah,
that's a pretty I hate the word avant-garde, but it was pretty avant-garde. Chunky Fire was a wild song too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is when he's wearing
the one who turned away from all substances. Yeah, went the weirdest.
Yeah. But his brain was the most powerful drug.
But I feel it's interesting because it's a lot of people want. There's always the conversation. Well, Andre is the greatest rapper of all time, or you know what I mean. And it's Big Boy always gets But I feel Outkast would not have been Outkast if not because there is such a balance, and I feel it's what Andre's music often misses and what Big Boy's music often misses solo. Yeah, is that just and they're definitely the best evidence why kind of groups are
they complement each other so crazy well, and they and they miss each other so much. Yeah. Andre couldn't be Andre without, like, when they did their individual out, Speaker Box, The Love Below. I preferred Speaker Box. Me too. I was more of a big boy because the Love Below just got too weird. I mean, it maybe soared higher, but it was
There's 6 amazing
weird.
songs on it, but like as a listening, it just. Or then he'll have like a hook like Roses, which is like an amazing song.
Such a good song.
But like you're like, if you made the I was like,
I don't want to hear someone sing about poop.
No,
I know, not at any point.
It's just.
Yeah, so together at their heights.
It's like you mentioned how Big Boy's kind of the more slept on of the two, like lyrically. To me, he's he would be like Jizza of Wu-Tang, who like was the guy who just voice isn't flashy, but holy crap, he puts a sentence together well.
Substance.
You know what I mean? He just puts everything together, like.
Big Boy's the turkey that lets you have the sides. You know what I mean? It's a Thanksgiving dinner. You got a big turkey there. Yeah. Substance, you cut into it. Yeah. Delicious. And then Andre 3000 is something with marshmallows on top of it for sure. Something weird.
I'm not a Key and Peele guy, but their skit was real good.
Yeah.
Like that was
like really good. And then like it kind of because it captured like the problem.
The guy who they kept saying his order. Yeah. And he's like staring at him like, that's your order. It was like a flower floating in a fishbowl. He's got it. I don't know. Andre just was on the Frank Ocean album. He's just got to. I don't understand what that is. Why he can't.
What do we think about that?
Everybody's talking about
that verse is amazing.
Good God.
He only he surfaces so rarely.
Yeah.
But when he does, it's usually amazing. Mm-hmm. When he was on that Future song, that Ben's Friends. He's amazing on Ben's Friends.
He's always complaining, which I really admire. Like he's always angry. Like he's always like, they're ghostwriting lyrics. He's like, I'm not giving you a ride in my expensive car. Yeah. Stop gold digging. Like it's always like very angry.
That whole time he doesn't want to buy an expensive car because then the dealership will sell some, and then he doesn't get any of that money.
Yeah.
It's like back to don't buy whatever. Ice Cube was like, because St. Ides is giving ends. It's just all strategy within rap.
He's always been frugal. You go back to the song was it Elevators, where he's like talking about, he's like, the guy's like asking for money at the mall and he starts lecturing him, and he's like, I'm broke too.
Maybe that's what maybe the beekeeper hat with the shoulder pads and the big fluffy pants was just because he was thrift shopping. Thrift shopping the whole time. Andre 3000, the original Macklemore. That's what he's. All right, so that's the first pick of the second round. Outkast, Aquemini. Jeff, it's your pick.
All right. What am I? You know what? I'm from LA. I'm just gonna go with Doggy Style.
There it is.
I'm more like, and this is always the conversation to be had, like, what's better, Doggy Style or The Chronic? Again, like, at a certain point, like, it's a toss-up. But I was more partial to Doggy Style because I felt like it was Dre's best production.
Yeah.
I always thought, even though The Chronic is amazing, I always felt like Doggy Style. And Snoop, like, if you look at the longevity of his career, it's astonishing now. Like, I mean, kind of tangent, but I can't believe he's still making interesting. Like, who would have thought that he'd be still making interesting music?
It's kind of heartening. He's the one guy. I mean, like Jay-Z will still put out some music every day. And like, I mean, Nas is still putting out music every now and then. But Snoop, it's been consistent. He's been dropping like an album almost every year or so since the early 90s.
And they all have like 4 or 5 really good songs on them. Like he never had to reinvent himself.
No, he's been except for the Snoop Lion, which really wasn't a reinvention.
Yeah, which is like, all right,
just like when certain nights you get way too fucked up.
Yeah,
he's just like that was where
he was hanging out with Diplo. It was weird.
He had 15 joints instead of 12.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, I'm a reggae person now. And his friends are like, oh, all right. But...
He was watching like Planet Earth. He was like, I've been telling people I'm a dog this whole time. Meanwhile, there's these lions out here. Yeah. They're way tougher than dogs. What the fuck have I been doing?
See, I like never smoke weed, but like sometimes when I do, it's like I'll just zone out and be like, everything in my life is wrong.
Yeah.
Why am I not a surfer? Like it's some bullshit. I should fight fires. Like he probably just had that thing, where he just had too much.
I mean, if you got to experience Jamaica the way Snoop probably experienced Jamaica, I'd convert to Rastafarianism as well.
I would anyway.
Yeah.
In general, it sounds pretty reasonable. Like I'm like, honestly, like I feel like that's the thing about like weird.
It's basically Judaism.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
With weed.
Yeah, which is pretty close to regular Judaism.
More weed,
as practiced in 2016.
Yeah. More weed, a little more homophobia. Not way more, a little more than Orthodox Judaism.
A little more than I would care for, but like you don't want to hear what Buju Banton has to say about that.
Right.
No. Just let me. Yeah, but I mean, Doggy Style. It just so many. I mean, I'm just looking at the track list right now. Obviously, Gin and Juice is just perfect
Yeah.
Classic.
Classic. I mean, Lottie Dottie brought Slick Rick. I mean, Slick Rick I think has held up almost better than any 80s rapper because he was.
Oh yeah.
The storytelling. I mean, and you also have the a lot of people forget the tension of that murder case.
Yeah.
Snoop was really fighting for his life, and that was a really crazy case where his bodyguard shot this guy Philip Waldemarian at a park in Palms, which is it's interesting now living in LA where you're like, oh, Palms there were literally Crips in the parks in Palms.
Yeah.
Now, Palms, you're might get hit by a stroller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Ain't No Fun, I've always said, has there ever been a song with a more horrible message that more women have ever sang along to?
No!
I remember in college, every girl's favorite was "Bitches Ain't Shit" off of Chronic, and I was like, it was the height of that feeling of, what do you guys? Why are you so into this?
I mean, to be fair, Nate Dogg can make anyone. Nate Dogg is my patron saint.
Oh, yeah. Nate Dogg could have sung...
It's because both those beats are just unforgettably incredible.
If Nate Dogg had a hook that was like, fuck you, Ian Karmel, your penis is mediocre at best, but Nate Dogg sang it real smooth, that would be one of my favorite songs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just... I mean, I just...
Well, and the shiznit, that, the way he just rides that
Doggy Dog World, I also love that video with the 70s kind of,
for sure.
Well, of all the albums we draft today, that might have the coolest cover art, too.
For sure, Joe Cool.
Yeah.
The guy's name was Joe Cool.
Joe Cool, yeah.
And I remember, the wait for that album was excruciating, and when it came out, it all paid off.
Yeah, I think it was the most first-week sales of any album ever to date.
Well, and
debut.
Dre said he made something like 100 songs or something, beats or something, and they're like, we narrowed it down to these 10 or 12 or whatever. That's insane.
Yeah, and Warren G and Daz actually contributed a lot of the samples for that too, which is really get the credit. But I always felt like that was the best. Distillation of the whole Death Row thing. I mean, because the Chronic is just starting off, but they really had kind of hit their stride by Doggy Style.
Yeah.
You got the Lady of Rage. You got Daz and Corrupt, obviously.
Lady of Rage,
Dog,
yeah. Classic album, Doggy Style.
Amazing.
Second pick of the second round. Matt, you want to wrap it up?
Okay, I will. Since we are I love what we're going by our favorites, but they're still pretty popular for a reason. I got to go with Common with Resurrection.
Oh yeah.
And because it's I feel like everybody kind of just sweats. I used to love her because it's the metaphor. And even when I first heard that song, I thought it was a brilliant, beautiful song. But I wasn't like, oh my God, it's hip. It's like, yeah, I knew it was hip hop halfway through, man. I got it. But that to me is another beginning to end listenable. No ID's production is just insane, and I love that. It's testament to the fact that he's still so good that he still does beats for Kanye and everybody else,
and runs Def Jam.
Did. Right. And it's one of those records. I remember being on a train to Philadelphia and just listening to the whole thing for the first time, on headphones, and just being blown away by how good every song was. And I was a fan of Common since Can I Borrow $1, his first album. Because he was just kind of he was Chicago, which I loved, but he was also completely all over the place. And he was would make noises and was playful and fun, but then would go hard and go crazy. You could see he had a lot of versatility in what he could do on any kind of beat. I remember seeing when D'Angelo's album Voodoo came out, I saw D'Angelo in concert, one of the best concerts I've ever seen, in this random theater that's hard to get to in Chicago. And Common runs out on stage, hammered drunk, and just starts freestyling. And it was not only good, it was hilarious. Right in the middle of it, I remember he was like, Common, I gets drunk. I love when the booty go da-dunk, da-dunk. And then he just kept rapping. And it sounds the stupidest lyric, and it is, but the rest of it was amazing. And it's hard to say. But, I just think he's just, naturally kind of amazing, He's
kind of, he's like a backpacky type rapper, but he's kind of a tough dude.
Yeah.
He lets you know that in the songs every now and then. He never went full backpack.
He did write The Bitch in You.
The Bitch in You is one of the best diss songs ever.
It is a good diss song.
Yeah, I love those ones. I mean, Ice Cube had two of the best diss songs directed against him. That and Cam's Whoop Whoop.
Yeah.
I think are just
and then he gave it. I mean, no Vaseline, obviously.
Yeah. Yes. And he wrote one of the all time, arguably the all time.
Pretty much the whole West Side Connection album is just shots for no reason.
Yeah.
They're
they go on Comment for no reason.
Yeah, except for the Gangsta, the Killing, the Dope Deal. They're let's just sample 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
I'm feeling emo today.
Yeah. That's why Mac 10 was there. Just
Big Dub C fan.
Dub C, that's
Oh yeah.
Dub C, dude. Dub C, the only thing I really know about Dub C is a couple songs, and then that video of him crip walking.
That's the best crip walker.
Amazing
just
crip
just
walker.
clowning.
Dub C.
That is. Well, he was in Low Profile, and then he had WC in the Mad Circle.
Oh, I know. Low Profile. Pay Your Dues is one of the best songs.
Coolio was in the original WC in the Mad Circle.
Yes, he was.
Coolio was?
Yeah, Coolio.
God, ICP Circle member.
Oh man, I gotta.
And
when I go home, I'm gonna listen to Pay Your Dues. So good.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie that Common has been in? Common is at a weird because he's almost just a full blown actor now.
The only answer is Just Right.
Yeah. Just
I haven't
Right.
even seen it, and I'll second that.
Just Right. Coming in close a second. Smoking Aces. Was he in Smoking Aces?
He was. And he got
Yeah.
a card thrown in his eye by Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
And
Who was like
I've
his
never-
best friend randomly, which I find really
Well,
odd.
Common and his gangster crew, they started working for this magician in Vegas. Like, why would you kill for that guy?
I don't know. Can you imagine that? Like Chris Angel just calls up, like, or in a different David Blaine back in the '90s gets Suge Knight and the Bloods to show up and run errands for him.
You think yourself,
fuck magicians.
You're-
Yeah.
I'm
Fuck
gonna say
magicians.
I got my phone stolen by a magician
Except
earlier this year.
Justin Willman's cool.
For real.
The rest of you,
Oh my
fuck
God.
you.
Yeah, I mean, you're an accomplished thug.
Yeah.
You've killed a few people. You can handle yourself. Been in and out of the joint. Some magician's like, hey, go rob a bank for me.
Yeah.
Why would you not just shoot that magician?
They're fucking evil. They're
Disappear
like
this,
carnies.
mother. You know?
That would have been a way shorter, way better movie.
Oh, he just shoots Piven in the head.
Just Common murdering
and
Jeremy
credits.
Piven. Yeah.
15-minute movie.
And then it's just the resurrection. That
So
just
a
plays over the
magician made
credits.
your phone disappear?
Yeah, he stole it. It was a kleptomaniac magician.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it was really weird. It was on it's a long story, but needless to say, he was an acquaintance from high school, and he was he's like, I have a story for you on the seedy underworld of magic. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I was like, all right, I can read that story. Nah, he stole my phone and then videotaped the trick, and then I was like, bro, I need to see your video. And he's like, I gotta go to yoga class. I was like, what?
oh my
And you
God.
never got your phone back?
No, I confronted him, and I made up a lie, and I was like, hey, bro, the restaurant we were at has video of you. They caught you. And he freaked out on me, and that I Googled him. He had assault charges. He was like a real rogue magician.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I still follow him on Instagram because it's fire. I'll tell you off the air. I don't want to get sued. His Instagram is amazing.
I want to know what it is.
It's so funny. It's like Job in real life.
Okay.
Like for us, it's just needless to say, this guy will not win Poof Goof of the year.
What is Poof Goof of the year?
You never saw Arrested Development? Where
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Magician's Alliance? Yeah.
That's right.
We demand to be taken seriously.
I thought for a second there was an actual Poof Goof of the year that maybe happened here at the Los Angeles Convention Center or something like that.
It's actually at the Luxor.
All right, fantastic. Common. I'm gonna call it a sleeper pick.
Yeah.
Coming
maybe.
in.
I like Common, but not I'm conflicted about Common.
Yeah.
He's great.
Well,
but
it's not all of his album as it went on that circus.
I
kind of
like Electric Circus.
Yeah, I didn't really love that.
a
But there were
defender.
ones some were good, some were bad. But to me, that album is his opus.
He's got a smooth
Yeah,
ass
definitely,
voice
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's his best album.
That album was amazing.
That's Common is some of his best songs are ones you could put on for people who aren't rap fans.
Mm-hmm.
With a girl and that. Not that girls aren't rap fans, but if there's a girl who's not a rap fan, put on The Light.
Yeah.
The Light is
Yeah.
a
It's a
great.
good introduction to Dilla, too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody who could rap over Dilla.
The Light, Prince's favorite Common song too.
Is that true?
Yeah,
The Light is
he
Prince's
called
favorite?
him personally. That's one of the saddest things about Prince being dead is artists won't just get a phone call at 3 a.m. and be like, "This is Prince.
I love this song."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and hang up. That's what he did.
All right, so yeah, perfect. So that's the final pick of the second round.
Okay.
And you also now have the first pick of
Oh,
the third
shit.
round.
Okay.
Matt Braunger ready to go again.
All right. I'm dying inside because now I'm realizing how oh God, how brutally hard this is to narrow it down. But all right, shit.
Sophie's choice.
Yeah, it really is. It really
Except
is.
you still get to listen to this album.
It's
if you
harder
don't
then.
pick it.
It's harder. You
It's
can always,
harder.
You can always pick your favorite kid.
What? Honestly, it's easier to kill one of your kids.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not
yeah.
the one doing it.
Right, exactly.
Just nod at one of them and
It's
give the
like-
wink.
Yeah, the one with the strong legs.
No, I meant keep him. No shit. That was my fault, Nazi. I wasn't clear. I gotta go low end theory.
Low End
Trial
Theory.
Called Quest.
I'm glad you went with that.
Yeah.
Everyone said, we had the talk earlier about Midnight. A lot of people are Midnight Marauders.
I am. Yeah,
I'm a low end
It's
theory
like neck
guy.
and neck, but then low end just pulls ahead.
Yeah.
It's just front to back incredible. Like it's where they came into their own. I love people's instinctive travels. Like
Yeah.
like when I started buying up all my vinyl albums again. Like that was the first Quest album I got because it's fun. It's all over the place and. Cannot stand Left My Wallet in El Segundo. That's the one I always play on like the old school stations.
You don't like Left My Wallet in El Segundo?
Yeah. It just always annoyed me.
Well, it was obviously I haven't spent a lot of time in El Segundo.
I think it was or left your wallet there at the famous enchilada place.
I had a fruit punch.
Enchiladas. It's either all they serve is enchiladas or fruit punch.
What an odd order.
You can't have both.
It's like I had chocolate milk and a steak.
Yeah, you can't have both.
Okay.
But it was also like where Fife came into his own, and you kind of recognized how necessary he was for the two of them. And I just remember that album was one that we could not shut up about as kids. About like, no, put this on. No, no, take that other out. We just listen to low end, put it back on,
Yeah.
And I remember when you have a girlfriend that you really love, but you just know she's wrong for you.
Yeah.
I remember
I've mostly had that.
We were playing basketball in the gym, and Jazz We've Got was playing.
Yeah.
She's just an incredibly effervescent song. It's just like so subtle, and that rolling bass line with it.
If you're stoned and you listen to that song, your brain will float out of your head.
Also,
that the horn comes sailing in.
Yeah.
And I remember
say a little deep too, like in terms of like the continuation of influence, and cyclical. Like they kind of you think about it, you're like, oh, kind of a lot of foresight.
And my girlfriend was just like, I don't know how you can listen to this. I was like, well, that's us.
That's it.
That's the end of us.
Yeah. Oh my God, that woman has owned at least 3 Volvos in her life
for
since
sure.
then.
For sure. Yeah.
Her 30s were all Volvo years.
Yeah. It's not. I kind of I feel like that might be the last one I'll pick in this thing that's like a recognized classic. Because I feel like it was like I gotta say it. But at the same time, I wanted
Somebody
to go.
Was gonna say
I understand. It's not as fun to pick those albums, but that is a completely undeniable album.
Mm-hmm.
If you like hip hop at all,
I mean, Scenario, just like that video, that Busta. I mean, Busta Rhymes probably top. That might be the best guest verse ever.
Yeah, well, that's what made Busta.
Yeah,
like before that, when Leaders of the New School, he's kind of just like, he's kind of a grainy voice and he's fun, but then he became like a living monster, like on that song.
Seriously. Like you're a Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Bugging Out is Bugging Out will get you out of a chair. If that song comes on and you're sleeping, you will wake up standing somewhere like in your living room grinding on your bookcase.
Yeah.
That song is amazing.
Sky Pager, best song about obsolete technology.
Definitely,
definitely. Like still would have a Sky Pager honestly for that. Like forget a sidekick. Like there's a lot of mid 2000s sidekick songs, but I'll go with Sky Pager.
Since we're speaking of Tribe Called Quest, we might not get to again. If you haven't, you have to watch one of the best music documentaries I've ever seen.
It is great.
Is Beats, Rhymes, and Life, which is all about Tribe Called Quest.
Which Michael Rappaport did.
Michael Rappaport made it. And that's
it's like Michael Rappaport.
Hip hop. Actual hip hop aficionado, Michael Rappaport.
Huge. Yeah.
He likes some rap music. But I interviewed them actually around the time of. I didn't get to interview Q-Tip, of course. I think Q-Tip didn't like the way. But I thought what was so great about that film is like it kind of captured like you kind of understood everyone's side. Like there's one moment where like Jerobi is like, we go to a city and like me and Fife like want to go to a ball game, like get a hot dog, and like then they're like. Tip just wants records. And like then they show like Tip shopping for records and you're like, of course you'd be annoyed. It's like, what the fuck am I doing with
all you're doing.
You guys are literally eating fucking Cracker Jack at a Cubs game. And I'm like trying to find a fucking like
he's a record. They were all friends like in high school, right?
Yeah.
Basically, most of them. And then I mean if you think about all your friends who you had in high school, you all went on your different paths, but they were tied together. So one of them was a record nerd. He doesn't want to get
you imagine just being stuck in a band with some of the people you went to high school with?
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd be like Radiohead.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Mine would just be a bunch of other football players. I don't know what kind of music we'd make, but it'd be
like 311.
A lot like 311. It would be like
I saw 311 last week.
Did you?
In concert.
Just like at the grocery store.
It was a Matis Yahoo in 311. I'm writing a long story on
Matis Yahoo in 311?
Matis Yahoo is a wild man, by the way.
He's
I gave
got
Matis
his
Yahoo
hair.
I shouldn't say this, but I gave Matis Yahoo acid. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this on the air.
I'm
going to put it in the Washington Post.
I feel like that's safe though.
Yeah.
You're like,
No. I Instagrammed
I gave him a rock.
He
smokes crack for real? Yeah.
I gave him a gun. It can't be traced. Now all these other Jewish reggae guys are ending up dead.
Gave him a 9 with the.
You just killed
serial number
MC
filed
Paul
off.
Harmon.
MC Paul Barman is dead. I love the idea of a Modest Yahoo MC Paul Barman rap beef.
Yeah, I named Paul Barman once the worst white rapper of all time on a like still the most popular post. I had to keep it up on Passion of the Weiss because it was like, well, but I felt bad because it's like, Paul Barman tried.
It was on the internet, so he read it.
Oh,
that guy lives there.
How many articles does Paul Barman get in 2000? Like,
do you have? I mean, who's the competition for worst white rapper?
Oh, well, honestly, this was written in like 2006, so now it would be completely different. MC Paul Barman, I don't even think would be top 10 worst.
He's been surpassed so many times.
Who would be the worst white rapper?
Like modern now?
Ever.
Oh.
I mean, like, we're not talking like Krayshawn or V Nasty. Like,
yeah.
Because like I would think. I mean, it could like I don't know. It's a good question.
God, most of the
I'm
ones...
gonna say Lil Dicky. Yeah, that's my fantasy draft of worst white rappers.
I'm gonna say fuck Lil Dicky just because he made his album on the Billboard charts count as comedy. He has maintained that number one spot. When I put my comedy album out like last year, he had the number one spot, so I didn't get to do it. And then this year, my friend Rhea Butcher just put out an album, and he's still got the number one spot. Fuck you, Lil Dicky.
Yeah.
Pick a lane, comedy or rapping. Can't be both.
I don't remember if he was good or bad, but it didn't matter because there was a guy, the DJ Quick trotted out at one point.
Yeah.
Sorry, who called himself the funky white nigga, and he was a white guy, and I was just like, are you joking?
And he referred to himself, and Quick co-signed it.
Yep. And he called himself. That was like his
There was
name.
a Wild Blood of Abraham
like,
song with Eazy-E where it was like it was like Kikes and N-word.
Oh,
that's the name of it.
And Blood of Abraham's whole thing was like we shoot rednecks. They're racist. It's just like but
they were like an armed
you
to
got
the
more
teeth,
of an angle than that.
Armed to the teeth anti-defamation league, basically.
Blood of Abraham.
Blood of Abraham,
Eazy-E signed some weird. Like,
he saw House of Pain and was like, I want my specifically ethnic white group.
He signed Tari Lee, which was like a blonde white girl kind of, and then he discovered Black Eyed Peas and Bone Thugs.
Yeah,
He
discovered Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, they were at Band Clan.
Wow.
Yeah. And he taught actually we ran a really good interview with Will.i.am recently about, and what's crazy also about Ruthless is that everyone on Ruthless does not believe that Eazy really died of AIDS.
What?
No one, Bone Thugs I've interviewed do not believe he died of AIDS. Remember BG Knockout and Gangsta Dresta?
Sure.
I interviewed BG Knockout. He was on the Hajj in Saudi Arabia. He became a Muslim in jail.
Okay.
And did not believe he died of. A lot of people do not believe he died of AIDS.
What do they have other theories? They're just like it couldn't have been.
They
AIDS.
think Suge, or if they think he did, Suge Knight may have injected him with AIDS, or there's a lot of crazy theories.
Suge Knight, on Kimmel, had talked about no, you don't shoot somebody, you just got to stick them. You just stick them, you get them sick. Yeah.
Well, that's still dying of AIDS.
Yeah.
Even if you get injected
with
AIDS,
the
you die of
thing.
AIDS.
My dad, the only person that will defend Suge Knight. My dad apparently has met Suge Knight a couple times, and every time he's like, he's a really nice guy.
I love that.
He's
calls
like, no,
him
he's
Mary.
not, Dad.
No, I've met him.
He's got good manners. I was like,
Dads are.
Jesus fucking Christ, Dad.
Dads are.
Met him at the Four Seasons.
He's a guy. He's a good guy.
Give me a cigar.
Look, we were out of peanuts. He asked the bartender for more. He gave me a bunch of peanuts. So.
Suge, you mean Marion? I met him at the UNLV mix.
Marion. I remember, yeah. But Suge Knight, it's interesting. I feel like hip hop is a lot of altruistic villains. He did a lot for single mothers and charities, and really gave a lot back, but also was a ruthless murderer.
Right.
So
And dangled one of the worst white rappers off the side of a building.
But how much would again, Vanilla Ice so much better than Little Dicky?
Yes.
Yeah.
So much
so
better.
much better. Than
I loved Chuck D's thing about Vanilla Ice. He's like, a white boy who can dance like that? Yo. That was it. That was his little quote about him. He's just like, come on, man, look at him. He can
Dude, Jim Carrey, that was
Oh
you need
my
an In
God,
Living Color
yeah.
or Chappelle Show now. The Jim Carrey, he got it so, and he also gave it to Snow, who was a pretty fairly decent white,
Yeah.
Snow went to jail and had MC Shan,
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. All right, so it's Lil Dicky.
All right.
If Lil Dicky, if there's in any way, if you hear this, you can come on the podcast and draft worst comedians.
Yeah,
or writers.
And you should have this on the podcast where there's an aside where everyone drafts the worst. Of something.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
One quick round.
One quick round.
That's a good idea.
One of each.
You're hearing this podcast come together. in real time with Bill Maher.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that idea and never pay you for it.
That's fine.
All right, fantastic.
Okay.
I'll bring you a fun zucchini
I'm a
bread.
terrible negotiator. Done.
And give me your watch, by the way.
All right.
All right.
Shit.
Thank you. All right. It's a podcast. People, they
don't know.
He didn't actually give me his watch. We're good friends. All right. That's the first pick of the third round.
Magician's
Matt Braunger goes with A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. Easily the second best album cover in this draft so far. And Jeff, it's on you.
All right, because we are on the 20th anniversary of his death. It'll be around the time when this comes out, I imagine. I'm going to go with All Eyes on Me by Tupac.
Yeah.
All Eyes on Me.
Gotta, you can't have Biggie without Tupac. And I feel like I feel like I had a lot of phases with Tupac when he was alive. Like, at first, like, I remember Brenda's Got a Baby. It was one of the first rap songs I remember hearing. I remember just being like, chill. Like, I'd never been like so sad from a song. You know, the little girl like dumping her baby in the dumpster. And a harrowing song. Then I Got Around like blows up. He becomes I remember the same song kind of vaguely and like the kind of fuzz. But then like All Eyes on Me, I feel like first of all, it's the greatest post jail album ever, and like that that's its own like little canon in rap now. And unfortunately, but like has anyone? I don't know if anyone's ever. He might have been angrier on the Machiavelli album, but there's no more raw fury album than I think All Eyes on Me. And I mean, again, like Life After Death, it kind of has everything. Like he has weird like posse cuts with like Rappin' Forte and like SIBO and E40, and then I mean he has George Clinton, Can't See Me, obviously California Love.
I love that song.
Needs to be like the national anthem of California, the state anthem of California. Like does anyone know the state anthem of California? I imagine it's like some.
It's probably a Beach Boys song.
Yeah. Some good vibrations. I mean, just I don't know. I feel like Tupac at that point, like. Everyone has a different like favorite. Like the brilliance of Tupac is that there is a different Tupac album. Like you can use. He's like one of those people you can interpret him any way you want. You can see him as the Tupacalypse Now, the kind of the revolutionary type. There's a lot of East Coast songs in the second one. Me Against the World is like the ultimate like paranoid in fear. Going to jail. And All Eyes on Me. I mean, every song. I mean, not every song is perfect. I mean, the Scandal. Even Scandal's not the best song, but it has Nate Dogg.
Yeah, this is a double album too, right?
All Eyes on America's Most Wanted.
Yeah,
amazing song.
Amazing song.
And then you have Tupac. I feel like he has a song like Life Goes On or I Ain't Mad at You, which are like kind of little like overly sentimental maybe, but at the same time like they do just hit you in this weird kind of like maybe you're drunk, like late night, and and I guess you get older. I feel like too. It's amazing that he wrote all this stuff by the time he was like 23, 24.
Yeah,
that's what blows my mind. Just to have that kind of emotional depth and kind of just power of his music. You could still play Ambitions as a writer at any point, and people will go fucking nuts.
The album starts on that.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Action Bronson's favorite song.
Emissions as a writer?
Yeah.
That's good to know. That's good to.
I just remember reading that.
It might be the hardest rap song. I mean, or Hit 'Em Up, which is also the hardest.
I still would say Ambitious of a Rider. Yeah. It's like, it's
that beat. It's almost like industrial. He's like rapping over like an industrial beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking tough. That's the thing. I've always been. I mean, you had to pick, which is really, even in Beaverton, Oregon, growing up, they were like, "Are you a Tupac or a Biggie guy?" Anyone could give a fuck what a bunch of like chubby middle schoolers thought about that kind of thing. I was always a Biggie guy, but this, I mean, I think it's Tupac's best album.
Well, there's a reason why. I mean,
it's a laser
beam,
we
mentioned
man.
Because they were of the same era and all this stuff, and they were definitely the two best of that era. But they were also, we talked about how just incredibly smart and incredibly in tune emotionally with how to put a song together.
Yeah.
Nobody could really do what they do. Nobody can get a perspective across and a mood like those guys would. Especially Tupac specifically.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, I feel like Biggie's obviously held up in many ways, but Tupac has kind of become like this international icon. Like, if you go to sub-Saharan Africa, like, there is Tupac murals like everywhere. Like, you buy Tupac like paintings at like in all over the world. Tupac is. I mean, he became the Jim Morrison of rap, and with
I think it's because he looked better shirtless.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
The iconography is just that is true though. He was doing the Jesus thing. I mean, like had like a huge Jesus tattoo like right on him, like multiple ones.
Toughest dude with a nose ring probably ever.
Little B probably. Yeah. Remember Little B.
Yeah. It's like
Both from
Tupac
Bay.
or like Hannibal, like the original Hannibal, not Burtis.
Who rode the elephants across the Alps.
Hannibal of the Punic Wars.
Yeah, the Punic War Hannibal.
Yeah.
The much more hardworking one
Way.
than the Hannibal I started out doing comedy with. No offense to him.
Well, I mean, you can't
Not the
compare
Hannibal.
yourself to
Hannibal's lazy, but on the elephants, that's tough shit.
He got him across the Alps.
Yeah.
They just found more evidence of that. This is now turning into a Hannibal crossing the Alps podcast.
Top 5 favorite military commanders from the from the BC era.
That's episode 2. The listeners who were brought up by the first one, very confused. I mean, you can't go wrong with All Eyes on Me. Kevin Durant got the Tupac tattoo on his leg recently, not the Biggie one. we won't get into basketball.
Guy goes to Bay Area once.
Yeah, goes to Bay Area. Yeah. Now he's into what do you think Tupac would be doing now? Is one of my favorite things to think about.
I've thought this many times, and the answer is always evil Will Smith.
Evil.
Wow.
He's always evil Will Smith.
That'd
And
be
there's
great.
the Jada Pinkett thing, which is really fascinating because Jada Pinkett was Tupac's best friend in Baltimore.
Yeah.
They went to art school in Baltimore together, and they were best friends. And I remember reading something. I think it was actually Shut Up Ben West Stuff. He's a new book actually out that kind of talks about all the West Coast hip hop history. And I guess apparently they kissed once, and it was just like real weird. They're like, never again.
That's funny.
They're like, nope, that is not the thing.
Just one of those checking the oil didn't work.
But at the same time, would you want your wife to be best friends with Tupac? I certainly wouldn't.
No.
You know.
No, she would deny it up and down, and you'd always wonder.
Yeah.
You'd always be like, nah. But then part of you got to be like, well, it's Tupac. He gets to fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Come on.
With those abs, you almost couldn't even be mad at her.
No.
You know, and he's
That
like also one of
experience?
You'd be like, hey, I'm Eskimo buddies of Tupac.
Yeah,
That's all right.
yeah.
Look at that.
You know which was
Tupac fucked my wife? To your friends?
No, I swear to God.
I just read LL Cool J's autobiography actually randomly. It was from '97, so it's like very dated, which makes it even better.
That's great.
And I didn't know he dated Kadada Jones. That it was Tupac's fiance at the time of his death.
Oh, really?
Quincy Jones' daughter. Yeah, Rashida Jones's sister. Yeah, and. So they were actually Eskimo brothers. And there's actually Tupac, which is amazing because Tupac had originally dissed Quincy Jones for dating white women publicly.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then he dated his daughter, and apparently there's a great story like where Quincy Jones comes up to him at the Jerry's Deli that used to be on like Beverly Boulevard, and like comes up to him behind him at the booth and like puts his hands on his shoulder, and he's there with his daughter, and he's like, "Hey, Tupac, can we have a conversation?"
Wow.
And Tupac was so charming that he became like he loved Quincy Jones.
And then Tupac and Quincy had sex.
Yeah.
What
But what can you do? Those abs.
I didn't see that ending coming at all.
Right there at the Jerry's Deli. And everyone was fine with it. They're just watching two geniuses go
What
at
are
it.
they? Oh, they're famous.
Yeah.
The
Just have a
entertainment
pickle
industry.
plate.
It's fine.
All right. All eyes on me. Going on take third round. We made it to the third round
Hey.
where the Low End Theory and All Eyes on Me, before them, the 90s, good time for hip hop. It's my pick. I'm going to round out the third round, and I'm going to go with the Fugees, The Score.
Okay.
That's my pick. It might not be as well respected now. I have no idea how the Fugees have been.
I just read a long piece actually about it.
Was it fake? Were they?
No, I love the score. The
Hell
score's
yeah, I
very
made
good.
the right
It's an
pick then.
incredible album.
Yeah.
There's some corny songs on there for sure. Wyclef's cover of No Woman, No Cry doesn't need to exist anywhere. But then, just Lauryn Hill I love the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, also a 90s album.
Yeah.
But she was like a god MC. She was one of the best rappers alive at that point, right? She had to be.
Yeah, it's
You guys didn't like Praz the best?
Big Praz guy.
That's pretty cool.
Only
Praz, if you're listening, I always appreciate
only
it.
his film work.
Yeah.
Praz isn't Praz's favorite rapper.
But Praz fills the Fife role well, I think, in terms of no one wants to hear your solo record, but your voice as a musical
voice is
instrument
cool as hell.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, super baritone.
Super baritone. Yeah, got a little tremolo in there.
Yeah.
Got it moving.
This album, definitely a classic. Definitely the worst skit ever with the Chinese food.
There's
skit.
terrible.
Yes.
You're like,
Did not age
ooh, that is
well.
some 90s racism.
Come on, buddy.
That is the Mickey
bad.
Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's of rap sketches.
I remember we couldn't play anything if we were at a party. We couldn't play anything but the "Killing Me Softly" cover. If there were girls would say, "No, put it on again."
Yeah.
It's like we just heard it twice. Can we something that no? Like the drunker they'd get, and another girl would show up that just got there.
She hadn't heard it yet.
Fugees. That they thought that was the one song on the It was like a single
Well, that
of
was
Killing
kind
Me
of
Softly.
They're genius, right? They kind of they figured out how to get like both sides. You know what I mean? You could play like a song like "Ready or Not" is like Enya.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Hear an interview.
Well, Lauryn Hill was like not only the best rapper, like beautiful singing voice.
Beautiful singing voice. She might be one of the most talented people.
Yeah.
To ever come through rap music.
Yeah, and like you have a guy like Drake who's like, oh, 40's like, whoever did that? And you're like, Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, like Lauryn Hill was the best rapper and one of the best singers.
And she was in like Sister Act 2 before all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, she was like acting in movies too.
And it's funny. It's like Drake, you really notice it. Drake,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, all right, you're just singing this whole song. All right, Drake.
Yeah.
You know, with Lauryn, like you never cross your mind. You're like, oh, what a lovely voice.
She
Go ahead and sing.
She could have just been an R&B singer. I mean, like X Factor and some of the other songs that were on, her later albums are like amazing.
X Factor's such a good song.
We complain we were just complaining about how it took 4 or 5 years for Frank Ocean to put out his next album. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, like we have people like Andre 3000 and like Lauryn Hill who go
took a decade,
ages between albums. And that's what we should really be complaining about. But Fuji La, one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
I think all three of them crush it on that song.
I always liked Cowboys and the Score, which were like
I love Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and also like they had the kind of underground New Jersey vibe with the Outsiders come in, who later became like a kind of big underground rap group. They had the Diamond D. I guess Diamond D hated working on that album. It was like, this is a horrible experience. Well, yeah, I think like at the time you're like, all right, Wyclef's having an affair with like Lauryn Hill the entire time. Like they're like in this like cramped basement in the middle of Newark. Diamond D's like, get me back.
Yeah.
Like get me out of here.
Diamond D's so good.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Weird tension in the room.
Definitely produced a song for Dana Barros at one point.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. This Basketball's best kept secret album. Have you ever heard that album?
No.
Oh man. Well,
Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop, one of the best albums. Well, I'm going to say it's not on my list, but it almost made it.
Yeah.
I was a big Sally's Got a One-Track Mind fan back in the day.
That's that shit.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Also, Who's it? Diamond D?
Diamond D.
Also, the
Diamond
most
D.
Jewish. So we went back to it. Most Jewish name for a rap group ever. Diamond D and the Psychotic Neurotics.
Yeah.
Diamond D. I think they meet at Jerry's Deli now.
Paul Barman was in it.
Yeah.
That's where they go have sex with other black men. Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, so that's the end of the third round. Rounded out with Fuji's the score. So I also get the first pick of the fourth round.
There you go.
And what I'm going to do with the first pick of the fourth round, give me 1 second here. I'm going Dr. Dre, but I'm going with 2001.
Oh, interesting.
Which actually came out.
Album.
It actually came out in 1999.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Suge Knight.
Just under the cusp.
Loophole.
Sweet loophole. Named 2001. It's one of. I mean, you can't separate. I think your experience with albums from like when you got into them in your life. And that album I got into right when I was first able to drive. So I would just blast the Chronic 2001 everywhere I went. Like, I think like ruined the speakers in the car that my mom bought me. Shout out Sue Carmel. But there's so many good. I mean, at one point somebody gets accused of looking like AC Green, which I really like.
Yep.
Yeah.
On Big Egos with feet like Ben Vereen. I mean, that's just a great diss.
And sung no less.
Son, you look like AC Green. Bitch, don't call here anymore. And then, I mean...
Speaking about the Pause for Porno sketch, which is...
Another terrible sketch. Can rappers stop assuming we want to hear them getting their dick sucked or like fucking?
That was definitely a very Dre thing though. Like everyone, it was like did you ever hear the Firm album?
Yes.
That was the most homoerotic dialogue ever. It's the song called Nas Is Coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you ever listen to it, it's like, Dre's like, ugh, what's up, Nas? And you're like, whoa, okay,
hey.
guys. And the song is called Nas Is Coming. There had to be a better way you could have phrased that.
Nas's latest release, something like that. Yeah.
Make a hoe a housewife on that album, which is... I always thought it hilarious.
But it's just full of fucking bangers, 2001. I mean, like... Still DRE, Explosive. What's the difference? Exhibit on What's the Difference?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Exhibit song, I think. Is him on What's the
DJ Quick
Difference.
thought he was being dissed on that song.
But on What's the Difference?
On What's the Difference?
That's what they thought it was the difference between Dre and Quick?
That's what that Quick took it personally, yeah.
I think a perm is the difference between Dre and Quick for the most part, right?
One of the greatest perm. Yeah.
One of the greatest perm.
Not exactly as good as Drew Downs. but amazing. Drew Down had the best perm in the business.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite songs ever is on some LA, and I'm not gonna finish it, but it's like a total LA like posse track. Dre, Hitman, Nocturnal.
Hitman.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I always felt that was one of the worst things. It was the thing where he's like on "Fuck You," where he was an amazing Devin the Dude, one of Devin the Dude's greatest songs.
Yeah,
like, introduced him to a wide audience. But it's like he's like, you let Melman hit it and Hitman hit it.
Damn, bitches.
You're like, how bad must that feel to be Melman or Hitman?
Just
You're
to
like,
be the exact, yeah.
You even let Hitman hit it? Oh.
Hey,
it's like the lumber.
As they're
of
recording
rap.
it, Melman's coming out of the bathroom just flushing. Like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Did I hear something?
What are you guys talking about?
No, nothing, Melman, nothing. It's cool. Keep that take. Keep that take.
Mailman's in the bathroom. Quick. Yeah,
the indifferent white engineer. Got it. No problem, Mr. Dre. You got it.
Oh man, but that song was one of the like when I moved to LA, I was like it's gonna be okay. Listen to this song. You're gonna go be part of this. That's why I assumed I'd move here and immediately fall in.
Sure.
With at least the lynch mob. But yeah, so Chronic 2001. I mean, Eminem's great on it.
Yeah.
One of
Eminem's greatest rapping performance.
Eminem, by the way, quick tangent, because I don't know if we're going to talk about him again. One of my favorite guest verse rappers, and I'm not a huge fan of just Eminem songs.
No one has aged worse than Eminem. I
It's-
feel
yeah.
his joke. I mean, although I will say, I did consider. I wrote down the Slim Shady LP because that was amazing, and that EP he put out before.
Yeah.
Slim Shady EP was amazing, but the homophobia has aged really poorly.
Really bad.
The jokes are not like it's like okay, you're making fun of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Ouch!
Yeah.
You zinger.
Tough target.
He was like this isn't even fair to who I'm going to compare him to, but he's like the South Park of rappers.
I will
You
take
know,
South Park
like
over
who did, and South Park has aged way better.
Yeah.
But like at the time, Eminem
Totally.
equals South Park to me in my head for some reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He almost was like so good at this is gonna be sound really bad, but like so good at hip hop, it was almost like he was one of those autistic kids who can like count how many cards have dropped on the floor.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he can't not rap incredibly, but the content, who knows where it's gonna go? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And will the song be good? But it's like he's undeniably, just in terms of writing lyrics, like the best, one of the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the way he does, like even now, it's like the way he does syllables. I'll say,
Yeah.
Has anyone in the history of rap ever had less fun? Like, I feel like I'd rather be at a party with Razkaz than Eminem. Like, Razkaz will sit me in the corner and be like, "Do you know what your ancestors did?" I'm like, "I don't know. They're doing really."
But Razkaz will party. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Give me that blunt. Like Eminem's like,
Yeah.
like, give me all your pills in the cabinet. No.
Razkaz will get drunk and be like, "Now here's a fun story about cockazoids." Eminem. I've never really thought about that, but there's very little joy in his music.
Never had fun.
It's like
even,
this.
Yeah, the My Fault song, or like, it ain't my fault song. Like, all right, cool, you went to a rave, you gave a girl mushrooms. Oh, and it ended terribly.
Yeah.
It always does. Ever has like there an Eminem story, we're like, it ended pretty well. That was
There's never a fun one where it ends with him making breakfast for everybody.
No.
It's not.
And then I serve Faygo at breakfast.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
For me, Eminem, a better spice than a main dish, and he's the perfect spice on this Chronic 2001 album.
Does, yeah.
And I mean, you had great production, from Dre, and then like all the raps was
And Scott Storch.
Scott Storch too, early Scott Storch, and Jay-Z and Eminem wrote everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, for Dr. Dre, actually pretty good
Must
rapping.
have paid for Scott Storch's yacht, Storchavelli.
Storchavelli is the name of his yacht?
He got foreclosed.
And his big marble house, like on Miami Beach. It looks like a Roman temple.
I wonder if whatever bank ended up with Scott Storch's yacht kept the name Storchavelli.
I'd hope so.
I hope so, too. Just some guy named Alan, some 56-year-old guy named Alan on Storchavelli.
Who can afford that boat exactly,
Yeah.
but not to modify it at all? Shit.
I have exactly $300 million.
What does that even mean? Do you want it or not, Mr. Fisher?
Alan Fisher, owner of Storchavelli. So that's my pick. First one for the fourth round, Chronic 2001. Jeff, you're up.
I'm going to go with Redman Muddy Waters.
Wow.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Redman Muddy Waters because I feel like that one is one that's bound to be slipped under the radar. And Redman, one of those, like, it's interesting, like I feel like you have the most underrated, like I just tweeted the other day, Mystical's the most underrated rapper of all time.
Huh.
And
I love Mystical.
amazing.
I like
I
Redman
don't love
better than
the
Mystical.
crimes he committed.
No, God. Yeah, that's the problem with rap. It's like if you really think about like how many of your favorite rappers have done pretty unconscionable things. Like a lot of them.
Not Paul Barman.
Not Paul Barman. Not many worse than Mystical, unfortunately. But Redman is always the one who people say. I always say he's not really that underrated. Eminem did list him on the most popular album of all time as one of his favorite rappers. It's like Jadakiss. Jadakiss not underrated at all.
Right.
But Muddy Waters, to me, is the perfect Red. I mean, his first 3 albums are classics. I think.
I almost did What
the album.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I love Muddy Waters just because it's like. I mean, I smoked a lot of weed. I'm not gonna lie. I smoked a lot of marijuana.
Yeah,
and,
Redman it goes well. Goes well.
It turns
Pairs
out.
nicely.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He pairs nicely.
I mean, and like just so many great songs in this album. This is probably, a lot of people would say EPMD, but I would say this might be the height of Eric Sermon's production on this album. I mean, Pick It Up, and the best song ever about finding things on the floor.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's tight competition.
Yeah, you're like, I found things it's like after a festival, that's what you want to hear. You're like, I just found a bag of Molly, pick it up,
Yeah.
Redman, just so funny and subtly creative. Just a very one of the best, most psychedelic rappers I think ever.
Maybe the best Cribs episode of all time.
Oh, easily.
Easily the best.
Redman's Cribs is the
I'd
best.
say tie between him and Master P.
Yeah.
You want to opposite ends of the spectrum.
Totally, yeah. How much was Redman really living in just like a duplex though in New Jersey with a doorbell that didn't work? That had to be one of a couple places he lived,
I think
right?
that might have been his like the place that he grew up in, that he his mom was still living there, or like he'd bought it out or something.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that he never said that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
He
what I
was
mean?
just, this is
It's like,
where I
this is where I
live.
live. Here's my PS2.
Yeah.
Playing
the controller at the TV at the camera.
Yeah, and yeah.
There may be some people listening to this who only maybe know Redman from like Red Meth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What are some good Redman tracks that people should listen to get into Redman?
I mean, Pick It Up. I would say Whatever Man is an amazing song, and those videos at the time, I always liked. You Rock the Spot was really good. I mean, I
think if you want to get charged up,
feel.
Time for Some Action is like just classic.
I'm
gonna kick the door off your car.
Yeah.
To get inside your car.
I would also say the Ooh song that he did with De La Soul.
Yes.
Bong,
bong,
yeah,
bong,
he's great
bong,
on that.
bong.
Yeah, that is a classic.
Yeah.
Fuck, I haven't thought about that song in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm listening to that
So good.
4 times tonight. All right.
Also, Redman just just a cool, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the idea of like an everyman rapper is kind of stupid. Usually an everyman rapper is kind of synonymous with boring, but Redman, like, you're like, that's who I want to smoke weed with.
Yeah.
It's like they wrote something once. It was like, you like when you read a book, you're like, you want to like have a conversation with the rapper. Like, but like when you listen to like a good rap album, you're like, I want to smoke weed with that guy. And like, I feel like Redman was like the platonic ideal. You're like, that guy, you get high with him, he will make being bored fun.
The anti-Eminem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having fun all the
He
time.
was always laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic pick. You've talked me into it. I wasn't so sure, but now I'm fully in on Redman. All right, so that's your pick of the 4th round. Redman, Muddy Waters. Bronger, you want to wrap up the 4th round?
I'm gonna go and vote with my heart this time. Unlike people might not think of this as a classic, but it's been a Dr. Dre heavy day. But I'm going with "Living Like Hustlers" by Above the Law.
Oh, that's a great pick.
That is some of the best beats I've ever heard in my life. This is still back when he was coming off of "No One Can Do It Better" DOC, which is, I won't say my favorite. Maybe if I was pressed, still my favorite era of Dr. Dre production, where he was just still, arguably dipping his toes into hip hop, back from NWA to DOC but like that whole album is great lyrics. 187 in I'm forgetting the other guy's name.
The KMG, the illustrator.
Thank you. Great back and forth. Probably if I had to pick a duo from that era, I'd still go with EPMD. But like that album front to back was just great because it was just like listening to people casually talking about how they're criminals and how they get away with it and various scenarios. And like there's no better opening to a rap album than Murder Rap to me, right? They're just that that just comes in.
Oh, that's
so
them.
insane.
Now I got a Murder Rap.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the hardest rap albums.
Hardest.
It's incredible.
And it's got the last song that has everybody on it, has DOC on it, and it's just like
that's
I love,
the kind of song
love
that'll
back
make...
when you always had a posse cut at the end.
Yeah.
Like DOC had a grand finale, and then they had the last song. Yeah.
Murder Rap will want to make you break windows for no reason.
For sure.
That's that kind of
It
song.
makes you feel like you're an angel dust.
Above the Law, just that Danny Brown once said about Black Superman, which is a little later, but he was like, if you hear that song at a club, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Like something is about to go down. And used really well in the OJ TV show.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the OJ. Shout out to the woman who played Marcia Clark. Just, what's her name again?
I forget. She's great.
I'm blowing it. I think Emmy nominated.
Schwims took all the attention.
Wherever she is, good for her.
Yeah.
Whatever she's doing.
Travolta,
Sean O'Connor said, I don't think he'd mind me saying this. He said, I think he tweeted it. He said that John Travolta looked like a gay outer space cat. Acted, not look like, but like act. That's what he was channeling.
That's funny.
Everybody else was trying to play the characters they were, and Travolta was like, no. I'm going a different direction with this. That's fantastic.
But yeah, if people can find that album, buy it. You'll love it.
Yeah,
you'll love it. We used to drive when the first of my friends to get a driver's license, we'd all go just sit in the back of his pickup and drive around downtown Portland, blaring that album, sliding around. We'd sitting on Taco Bell trays, like those fast food trays, and sliding around, just risking death at every turn, like as you just take hard rights and lefts, and
just listen to that music, seeking any damage you could find.
I don't know how there was no cop attention. I don't know, but it was great.
That's amazing. That's the kind of music with stuff like that. You don't have to be an actual criminal. You could find. Let's say you have a mousetrap and a rat gets caught in it, and you're like, God, I got to kill this rat. It's stuck. Put on Murder Rap.
Murder Rap.
You'll got
stomp it without thinking.
You got it. Cold-blooded.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, so that's a great pick. You're up again. You also have, that's the final pick of the 4th round. And now you're up with your final pick.
Okay.
The first pick of the 5th round.
Okay. This is the last round, right?
This is the last round.
Ooh.
There's some gems on the board still.
Oh, my God. So tough. Well, I gotta go because it was such a big album for me. Was Bizarre Ride, The Far Side.
Yep.
Because it's just it's like the production was so dissimilar. I found from song to song, but every song was great. Like there's no bad song on there, and they were like just out of their heads, crazy and stoned, but like put together really good songs. And each one of them was a very different rapper, but very good rapper.
Yeah.
Like I wish they were still making music as a collective. I wish kind of
they hate each other.
Yeah, I know.
They really hate each other.
I know, and that's sad. But they were kind of the natural extension of that whole native tongues thing that was coming out of New York, but completely
like the West Coast version of it. Yeah,
so LA, so West Coast. That's what I loved about it. Like even Other Fish. Just a great song about trying to get over somebody.
Yeah.
Pass Me By, obviously, when you're in love with someone and they don't know who you are.
It's an amazing song. Passing Me By is...
Your Mama.
Your Mama's great.
Your Mama is a fantastic song.
The best playground song ever.
Pass the Pipe is like one of the best weed songs, I think, because it just degenerates. It just goes crazier and crazier and crazier.
Oh, shit. Who else would have a song about picking up transvestites?
Yeah, accidentally.
Yeah. Only Fat Lip, who would visit it again later.
The Eddie Murphy of rap. Yeah. I mean, good skits actually on that one. Quentin's on his way. That was the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Who, he had his album. Jay Swift signed him, and then he had an album, but I don't think it ever came out. But I actually have a friend who's doing the 33 1/3 on that album, which is amazing. And he goes to me, he's like, pick my brain about it. And I go, you want to know the real truth is find Quentin. I bet you Quentin has stories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the drug dealer always has stories.
He's around. He's like the moth on the wall.
Yeah. You always want him there. Like he was the weed guy.
And they were the first rap group to actually find a way to do that Thelonious Monk song as a song. Quentin's on his way. Yeah. What is that? Honeysuckle Rose.
Rapping over Thelonious Monk. Yeah.
An unsamplable artist for the most part.
Kanye's favorite album, actually. Kanye said it was his favorite album.
Oh, really?
Bizarre Ride. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it kind of if you think about 92, I mean, obviously you have Freestyle Fellowship going to The Good Life. But they really broke the mold for in terms of LA gangster rappers. And it was interesting because I feel like everyone wanted to make it into like a binary. Oh, you're gangster, you're like the Far Side. But it's like, these guys grew up in the hood in South Central. They were living that, they ended up getting ensnared worse than anybody with drugs.
Yeah.
And, but it was interesting, and I feel like that album, I mean, the storytelling on that album, Officer, it's really all on there. And, they were rioting in apparently, that was how they actually, the start of their breakup came because they went rioting during the riots, and like they were in this horrible old van, and it just stopped. Like the cops came, and it just stopped, and everyone gets out of the van except Jay Swift. And they took him to jail, and then he showed up like a few days later at the sessions, and there was like tension about who's producing what. They brought in somebody else to finish the album, and it was the beginning of the end right there.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was it.
And Lab Cabin California is also a great album.
Yeah.
Great album. So, I mean, they got two great ones. But I think Bizarre Ride is
Bizarre.
still all-time
Two,
classic.
Yeah. That was on my list for sure.
One of my Fat Lip, who was in the Far Side later on, that song "What's Up, Fat Lip," which I think such a good song.
Yeah.
If you want like the anti-braggadocio, just it's all about being like a shitty person who nobody likes.
Just like I'm a total loser. A thing no rapper will honestly say. Yeah. And he gives concrete examples of how much of a loser he is.
Compelling case. You're like, hey, fuck you, Fat Lip, a little bit, yeah. But also, fuck you to the fat lip who lives within each of us.
Yeah.
It's really what that song is. So that Bizarre Ride to the Far Side, that's your fifth pick.
That's my fifth.
Fantastic fucking pick.
Thank you.
Jeff, we're on to you. Your last pick.
All right. Well, see, I was originally going to go with Sugar Free's Street Gospel. But and then I was like, we gotta have a Wu-Tang thing in.
Yes.
And I was gonna be remiss if I didn't say it. And then you're like, all right, well, you got four real choices for the Wu-Tang album. You have obviously the first Wu-Tang. Actually, you could say Wu-Tang Forever, which would be an interesting pick too.
Yeah.
But probably another 36 would be the one. Or then you have obviously Liquid Swords, incredible.
Yeah.
You have Ghostfacer's album. A safe pick, but it has to be on there. It's Only Built for Cuban Links.
Has to be on there.
Yeah.
I think. And I mean, we talk about duos. I mean, was there ever a better duo than I mean, and maybe trios, because Capadonna kind of killed it on. But I mean, Only Built for. I mean, obviously, it kind of. I don't know if it invents the mafioso rap, but it certainly perfects it.
Yeah.
The slang on it. It's its own. I think I once compared Supreme Clientele to like Ulysses of rap, but like it kind of starts there where they have its own. I mean, no one had ever had a language, I don't think, like that before.
Right.
And it's like a labyrinth. The album just, the more you listen to it, it goes deeper. I mean, and then you have Ice Cream, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just remember like being a kid and just being like, I got the purple tape, and like it was a funny random story. I was like at a fucking Club Med of all places, and like we went we're like hanging out. And, like, I had the boombox. So, like, back when, like, people had to bring boombox, and, like, there were these two guys, like, they were, like, the doc and, like, this white dude and this black dude with an afro. And they were, like, maybe 18, 19. And, like, I thought they were super cool. We have this crazy party in the room. They come by. They bring their cassette tapes. They leave, too. It's Craig Mack Project Funk the World and the purple tape. And obviously, Craig Mack Project Funk the World is the better of the two. Yeah. He wouldn't be around next year, and waiting for that one. Oh, but yeah, I mean, if you said it's like one of those albums, like if you said that like Only Built for Cuban Links is the best album of all time, you couldn't necessarily contradict it.
It's a hard one to fight against.
Yeah.
When you consider all the things.
There's a lot of albums that I feel like get to 100, and they get to it in different ways, and that's definitely one of the ones that gets to 100.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the word "built" is in it. Like it's such a well-built album.
Yeah.
The thing about 36 Chambers is the obvious choice, but you also kind of go, well. But it's a lot of guys. You know what I mean? It's like all with everybody with their own different viewpoints, stuff like that, and the beats are great, but like everything on Only Built is just like unbelievable.
Only Method gets his own like song on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Nas. I mean, Verbal Intercourse might be maybe the best Nas verse of that era.
Yeah.
Amazing. And had a lot of great ones. I mean, Glaciers of Ice. I mean, it just goes on like.
When it just we were talking about like setting a mood, like you mentioned, All Eyes on Me. Like that album is almost scary as shit.
Yeah,
that album just puts you on edge.
Like Killer, like John Woo kind of.
Yeah, the samples from The Killer for sure.
It feels like being in New York, lost in a neighborhood maybe you're not supposed to be in.
RZA goes, that was the summer album.
Yeah.
That dark. Yeah. They were. They're like Liquid Swords was the winter album. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Amazing. Fucking. I'm not going to pick Into the 36, even though it's an amazing album, so we could talk about Wu-Tang Clan just in general a little bit. Mm-hmm. Who do you think has had the best career coming out of it?
I got to go Ghostface.
Ghostface.
Yeah,
he's probably got my favorite album.
Just rap. We're just talking just rap.
Just rap. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Ghostface.
It's got to be Ghostface, right?
Mm-hmm. Of all the stuff he's put out,
and you would never have guessed it. I don't think it. And I mean, I think he'd just gotten out of jail, like when Enter the 36. So I don't think he's on it a little, or that might be Masticula, but he had just gotten. Yeah, that was the rumor that he was, was wearing the ghost face to hide.
You would have picked Method. Most people, I think, coming out of that album.
He was the marquee star.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he had the look, and he was like an incredibly unique style and everything.
Just fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unquantifiable cool.
Right.
Yeah, before everyone blossomed into the geniuses they were going to become.
Yeah.
Cool lives early.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Thank you.
Fantastic pick.
Not original, but had to be done.
Mine's
good.
Okay. I'm going to pick probably one that I'm not even that sure about. I'm picking it half because I really enjoy this album, half because I just kind of want to talk about it.
Okay.
And it's a ridiculous album. My fifth pick and the final pick of the draft is 1997's Puff Daddy's No Way Out.
Oh, great album.
I feel wrong picking a Puff Daddy album, but this Victory is a fucking...
Yeah.
Victory's a fucking All About the Benjamins is on there.
Benjamins.
There's a few
Senorita.
There's a few just a few Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
Senorita, who he went on to date Jennifer Lopez, so that song became prophetic. At the time.
Young G's was an amazing album.
Is that the
amazing song? The one with
Jay-Z and Biggie, right?
Yeah. Incredible song.
And it's just bombastic and decadent.
Mm-hmm.
The video for Victory was one of those like they showed on pop-up video, and it was like this thing cost $8 million.
Yeah.
And like Dennis Hopper and Danny DeVito are in it.
Yeah.
They're filming in like underground expensive hotel swimming pools and shit. Like Busta Rhymes plays a gargoyle, basically. Busta Rhymes in that. It's some weird like the video's like the Running Man, and Puff Daddy's running away from people who are hunting him, the most dangerous game.
Of course.
And for some reason, Busta Rhymes is just a gargoyle in a big, furry, feathery, Andre 3000 looking jacket, just rapping off the side of a building with a rainstorm happening behind him.
Yep.
I was sold after that, hook, line, and sinker.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
A friend of mine actually, he's working for a company, and like they have it's like an app, and they have a new technology where you can put yourself in any music video. And I was at like a festival, and like a bunch of music writers were talking. They're like, "Well, what would you do?" And I was like, "Oh, definitely the Been Around the World video. Like that's where I want to be. I have just landed in the middle of the Arabian desert. There's a bunch of sheiks around me, and I'm with Puffy and Mace. Like, great. And everyone's like, "Is this Puff Daddy?" And you're like, "Yeah, of course it's Puff Daddy."
Puff Daddy? That's on that album too, right? No Way Out.
Yeah.
There's a good song with Black Rob.
Yeah.
Second Black Rob shout out.
Yeah.
Where he he was supposed to sound like Biggie, I think, and he sounds a little bit like Biggie on that track. It's just I just fucking enjoy that album. I mean, it's definitely. I don't think any critic would say it's one of the 15 best rap albums of the 90s.
Yeah, I'll
maybe
be missing you.
I'll be missing you too.
So, yeah, I mean,
it's a weird. One way to listen to it is like I bet a lot of these tracks were supposed to have Biggie on them.
For sure.
And the production, it's
he wrote a lot of them, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell his rhyme scheme.
His rhyme scheme, yeah, absolutely. And you know that like Biggie would have killed it. So it's almost a combination of these are some good songs. And Biggie's on a few of them. And also like, what might have been.
Well, Puffy's one of his chief producing guys, like in his the Bad Boy team.
Yeah.
He had a great point where people are just like, oh, we just take that sample from that Herb Alpert song. It was Hypnotized,
Yeah.
He's like, all you guys do is just take a loop and make a song. He's like, you try it.
Yeah.
You try it. You find a hot loop and you make a song as good as anything we make. And I was like, that's a really good point. They would take known samples, like Hollywood Swingin' and make that into that Mace song. But it's like, could anyone hook it up as well as them for that kind of music? For club banging music.
And hey, like RZA was doing pretty similar things. Dre was doing pretty similar things. I mean, like a lot of those like Dre loops are Parliament songs.
Yeah. For sure. In fact, that it annoyed the shit out of me in the Straight Outta Compton movie where he just plays the riff from the Lattimore song, I Want to Do Something Freaky to You.
Yes.
Like he made it up.
Yes.
Yeah. That was off the song.
I just figured it out.
The song goes, the 70s song.
Yeah.
And he plays it and I'm like, oh, fuck you, man.
Like, you're
moment
Mozart.
of genius.
I just came up with this melody right now.
We just saw the Ape touch the obelisk. Yeah, exactly.
That song called I Want to Do Something Freaky to You.
Well, I mean, but They rapped over a David Bowie song. Been around the world.
Yeah. But made
Let's
it
Dance.
bang.
It
made
banged.
a song that was already a huge hit.
Yeah.
You know.
Slowed it down a little bit. Yeah. Beefed up the drums, and it was fucking
it's like,
awesome.
It was very, like scientific how
Why
they would make that stuff.
Why
work.
don't we take Puff Daddy as seriously as we should? Is it because he's overexposure?
Because he doesn't write rhymes. He writes checks.
Yeah,
Which is a
true.
great line. Great. It's one of the greatest
line.
lines.
But I feel like
I wonder who wrote it. Yeah.
It's like he's a. I would consider him a little bit more of a genius executive.
Yeah.
Great performance
That's
to
where
get
he
him to the
started.
Greek, though.
Yeah.
Really funny. Going back to Jeffries.
Pretty good in Made, too.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
was
Made not a
great.
great film, but he was pretty great in
Yeah.
Made.
Puff Daddy, very talented. Started as an A&R and ended up
He was a
becoming...
backup dancer originally. I think
He started as a backup
I think
dancer?
he was like starting as a backup dancer. Yeah.
Backup dancer, then A&R.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, the stories are crazy. I mean, he was going to Howard and then would just, he would just take the train up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. up to New York and get there and, just bitch out Andre Harrell later and just, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, to find Biggie and like, I don't know, and teach Biggie.
Well,
how
and
to write
he was
songs.
just known. Like before he was, I remember he was in an ad in the Source. He was in a Carl Kanai ad, and it was just like Sean Puffy Combs, and I'm like, is he a rapper? Or
Yeah.
was
We had
guy
that
do?
charity basketball
You know?
game that was like he came out of the ash. That like there was a huge fire and like Heavy D. Heavy D was performing and
Yeah.
he had all those like Uptown. It was where he discovered. I mean, Mary J. Blige. I think everyone forgets about that sort of. It's overlooked because she's so successful. But I mean, French Montana.
Montana.
He's still kind of doing it. You know?
He's like Pusha T's like advisor now. Like he sits in like when he's writing lyrics and stuff. And who's better than Push?
Still getting name dropped by Pusha T in 2016.
I mean, I feel like it's like a thing like Birdman, right?
Yeah.
I think about Birdman, and you're like, well, honestly, like, I mean, I don't know if Birdman's the greatest rapper, but he also did like Father Like Son, and he also was in like The Big Timers, and he also is the best A&R of all time, and also had the vision to do Cash. And you kind of look at like history, and you're like, I mean, whether it's regular history or music history or whatever, kind of like history is written by kind of like just people with crazy ass ideas that just make things happen. Mm-hmm. And Puffy I mean, he's responsible for the later part of the 90s, I think. No Way Out's one of those albums that you're like, all right, the Jiggy era begins here. You could say it's Life After Death, but it's really, I think, No Way Out, where it's just got very, very jiggy very fast.
Yeah. Well, you guys kept this podcast jiggy, I'm going to say the entire time.
Thanks, man.
And
this was a lot of fun.
My mom used
very educational.
You guys were both very jiggy.
Oh,
and
that's all I ever wanted.
Thanks,
I want to both let you know that you're both lit and woke. So thank you so much. That wraps. So that's it. That concludes the draft. Really quick, we're gonna go over everybody's 5. We're not going to decide who won right now. We're going to put that up on Twitter. We're going to have some experts weigh in.
Yeah, let people fight it out.
We're going to let people fight it out. But Matt Braunger, your 5 albums: Nas, Illmatic, The Resurrection by Common, Low End Theory by A Tribe Called Quest, and then The Bizarre Ride to the Far Side. Those were your 5. Oh, wait, and I left one out. Living
Like Hustlers.
Living Like Hustlers.
Above the Law.
By Above
Great
the Law.
wild card pick.
Thanks.
Fantastic 5. Great start to 5. Jeff, you had Outkast, AT Aliens, number 1. Snoop, Doggy Style, number 2. Tupac, All Eyes on Me, number 3. Fantastic. Redman, Muddy Waters at number 4.
Yeah.
Fantastic pick. And then number 5, Only Built for Cuban Links. 5 classic albums.
Solid list.
5 solid list. Mine, not quite as solid, but started with Ready to Die by the Notorious B.I.G., Aquemini by Outkast, The Score by the Fugees, Dr. Dre's The Chronic 2001. The Chronic, still on the board, by the way. And then rounded it out with No Way Out by Puff Daddy and The Family.
The Family.
Yeah. I mean, we left...
Carl Thomas is very happy.
Carl Thomas is on there, and, oh my God, 2 people that
Foxy Brown's on it. As
Kanye's used recently. That other, Kelly Price.
Yeah.
Kelly Price also on the album.
Yeah.
A visionary. We left, before we wrap it up, the 90s...
Left a lot out.
We left a lot on the table. We left the first Chronic. We left 36 Chambers.
Yep.
Miseducation, Lauryn Hill.
Check Your Head and Ill Communication.
Yeah.
Also were ones that I definitely had.
I fought with those.
Reasonable Doubt.
Reasonable Doubt is
the infamous.
It's
by
Dark
Mobb
and
Deep.
Hell is Hot by DMX.
Pete Rock, CL Smooth,
Yeah.
Mecca and the Soul Brother.
Freestyle Fellowship, Inner City Grind, 3
Oh
6
my
Mafia,
God.
Mystic Styles was one I wrote down.
America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube.
Oh, Souls of
all
Mischief.
the Ice Cube, yeah.
The Death Certificate,
Death
Kill
Certificate.
It Will.
God
Coulda-
damn.
I thought about DJ Shadow introducing Goody Mob
Yeah.
Soul,
That
Goody
would've
Mob
been
Soul
fantastic.
Food,
Jesus.
all of Quick, all of Sugar
Quick,
Free.
yeah.
I was gonna go Alcoholics Coast to Coast.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Love that
Yeah.
album.
We could have done this for 3-4 more hours.
Oh, Fear of a Black Planet.
Oh,
Public
Fear of a-
Enemy.
yes,
by a
90s.
hair. 1990.
The CB4 soundtrack.
I fuck your sister. I fuck your cat. Won't fuck your mom because the bitch is too fat. Oh, CB4.
MC Gusto.
Guys, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is so much fun, man.
Yeah, once again, this was Matt Braunger, stand-up comedian. Check him out. Jeff Weiss, a fantastic writer. Check him out, too. I've been your host, Ian Karmel. Thank you for listening. Tune in again next week. There it was. The All Fantasy Everything 90s hip-hop version is in the books. Thank you again to Matt Braunger. Thank you, Jeff Weiss, for coming in. Thank you for listening. And a reminder, to vote on which draft, which collection of albums you liked the most, go to @IanKarmel on Twitter. Pinned to the top of the page, there will be a poll for you to vote on. Make sure you log your vote. We'll determine the winner, and then we'll be back next week with another brand new episode of All Fantasy Everything. Thank you for listening.
That was a HeadGum podcast.